Welcome, everybody. This is Roberto Lopez from RH Lopez Consulting, and today I'm interviewing James Lemmons with Lemtec, an IT consulting company here in Tennessee. And James, why don't you tell us more about what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, we're a consulting company. We do custom solutions for mostly small businesses and nonprofits. We work with a few big businesses too, but we do everything from, basic marketing websites. We do a lot of those for small organizations. Maybe they tried the do-it-yourself website builder thing, and then they got frustrated or it wouldn't do something they wanted to do. And so we'll build a custom site for them. Or sometimes people have a site and the guy who built it disappeared. So we will help them fix it or set them up with a new site, that kind of thing. But then we also get into, e-commerce sites sometimes, connecting an e-commerce site to a inventory system. Got one of those we're looking at right now. And then, custom software too. We've helped a lot of companies either build an existing system or add something to an existing system. It's not something we advertise. Maybe we should, but we end up doing a lot of, I don't really know that there's a name for it, but someone has a legacy system. Something doesn't work. The original developer isn't there, or that nobody has time. Nobody in this organization has time. So they need to fix this system or find the source code. Sometimes people lose the source code. It's amazing. But basically take a legacy system, either get it working again or figure out what they're going to have to do to replace it. So we ended up doing a lot of that kind of stuff. But basically just anything software related, we at least talk to people about it. Sometimes we refer them out, but we do a lot of different kinds of projects.
Now, how did you get started in this industry?
Well, I was in college to study engineering. That had always been my plan. And but I took a lot of computer science classes. That's part of the curriculum for engineers. And I really liked them. And I was thinking about changing my major, and then a classmate told me, "Hey, it's easier to get a job with a computer science degree." And I'm like, "Sold, I'll do it." He didn't have any data to back it up. I just needed somebody to confirm that I wanted to switch. So I changed my major, and I was going to talk to my professor to, I don't know, they check in with you right before graduation to make sure you've got everything. And she said, "I've been meaning to get in touch with you. I know somebody that's looking for a junior developer." I don't think they called them junior developers back then, but basically somebody fresh out of school. They don't want to pay you much, but you can get started, and got that job and never looked back. Really enjoyed it ever since.
So from the beginning, you were working for yourself, or did you ever work for a company?
I worked for two companies. They were both actually consulting companies, so I've kind of been consulting my whole life. But I got the first job for working for a consulting company. Stayed there about 5 years. Went to another company doing similar work, a lot of hardware related stuff there. And those were really the only two jobs I had before I went out on my own.
What prompted you to go on your own?
Well, I got laid off. That was kind of the initial thing. It was 2009, and the company I was working for did a lot of work in the automotive industry. And a lot of people may remember that the automotive industry got hit really bad, the Great Recession. And so I got laid off, and I told my wife, I've always wanted to go in business for myself, so now I'm self-employed.
Yeah, kind of forced into it.
Yeah, she didn't think that was a great idea, and it didn't happen right away. I took a contract with a company, and it was a good company. I kind of liked working there, but it was just, I don't know, there wasn't any flexibility. 9 to 5, no flexibility on the time, no flexibility on how you built things. It was very dictated, and I just didn't like it. That's not what I was used to. And they kept talking about hiring me full time. And when it finally came down to it, I said, "No, I don't want to be full time. I'm going to go to consulting." So that's what I did, and been doing ever since.
Okay. Now you kind of touch a little bit on one of the challenge that you encountered at the beginning when you went on your own. What were some other challenges that you encountered?
The biggest one is always just how to find customers, how to find the right customers. And by right customers, I just mean people that that you want to work for. I mean, sometimes you have to take anything, but if you can pick and choose a little bit, you can get projects you'll enjoy more, and in the end, hopefully make more money because it's a good fit. That's always the big challenge, I think. I was going to say, I think part of my problem is I didn't really have a plan. I kind of just got thrown into it and just started, taking whatever job I can get, instead of, really, well, having a business plan, having a plan about these are the things I'm going to do, and, doing some research to find out what you should do when you're starting a business.
Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme with a lot of, especially developers who decide to go on their own. I know that was my story too. I didn't really have a plan per se. I mean, I had an idea, but very quickly I found out that not having a plan was not a good idea. How many years has it been? Like 15, 20 years?
I always, when people ask me when I started my business, I say 2013 because that's when I got the business license, but I was doing a lot of consulting before then.
Okay.
So it's been at least 9 years.
Okay. Well, since then, what are some things that you have, I guess, implemented to make your business easier to do as a developer, as a consultant?
Well, one thing is definitely getting a good bookkeeper, accountant or bookkeeper or both. I tried to do so much on my own in the beginning, and that was a big mistake. I always thought, oh, I'm just one person. It's not that big a business. Why should I spend the money on a bookkeeper? But there are so many things. The government is out to kill all small businesses because of all the regulations and taxes. So that is a huge weight off your shoulders if you can find somebody good to just help you with that stuff. And I guess along those same lines, really anything you can outsource, anything that, if I need to spend 10 hours doing something, and I'm just going to throw out a rate of $100. Say you're making $100 an hour when you bill a customer. If you can find somebody to do part of the work for $25 an hour, that makes a whole lot of sense. There's going to be some overhead with, telling them what to do. So it has to be enough work that you're not spending an hour telling them how to do a 2-hour job. But anything you can outsource, and I hear people talk about, well, hire somebody to mow your yard. I mean, you don't want to be mowing your yard if you could be billing for that time. And that is true. Although some people they don't mind mowing the yard and it's some downtime. It's time to decompress. So if you can outsource the things you hate, that's even better.
Yeah, that's very true. Now, fast forward to today, then, what are some of the challenges that you face now that you've kind of established your business?
Honestly, it's a lot of the same stuff as 10 years ago. Finding the right customers. I've always neglected sales and marketing, and that's really hard when you're small. Is setting up enough time to do sales and marketing, and not just spending all your time billing, doing things that you can bill for. And finding that balance is really hard to do enough sales and marketing that you keep work coming in consistently. But then you also have to be billing a certain amount of hours so that you can, pay rent. So that's always a struggle, even 10 years later.
What would you say to somebody who, is thinking about becoming a consultant, starting their own business? What are some tips that you could give them?
Well, I think I already mentioned having a plan. And, there are a lot of resources online. There's really just a ton of resources that I didn't know about when I was getting started to help you do stuff like that. Two that come to mind real quick are, if you're in Tennessee, the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. They have all kinds of classes and resources, all free. I don't know if they've ever asked me to pay for anything. And they just give you so much information about starting a business. Another one is SCORE. That's an organization that finds retired business people and has them mentor new business people. And you don't have to just have one mentor. You can talk to multiple people, and that's a great thing to be able to just talk to somebody that's done it before and get ideas from them. They can tell you why what you're thinking might not work, or at least what you should be considering. So those are just two that come to mind, but there's a lot of resources out there, and something I did not take advantage of back when I started. It's yeah, there's just so much out there, especially today. It seems like there's just more and more options like that. Made some notes here. Let's see. I already talked about having a bookkeeper or an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge benefit, because it's more complicated than just I'm getting paid as a W-2 employee or a 1099 contractor. As soon as you're a 1099 contractor, everything changes. You're paying all your own taxes. There's all kinds of things that apply to you that didn't apply. And then, of course, if you start to hire employees, that's even more complicated. So having an accountant is it's really good. And if you can afford it, a lawyer too, to look over contracts and things like that. And of course, a lawyer will tell you first thing you need to do is become an LLC or some kind of incorporation to protect yourself. So that's something to consider also. But I don't think I would say that's the first thing you need to do. But when you start making some money and you have something to lose, something to consider. Along with insurance, that's something I didn't think about at the beginning at all. But
Mm-hmm.
you've got to protect yourself, or all this money you're making could disappear pretty quickly. The other thing you would really should think about is, we've talked about marketing, and so marketing, there's so many things to marketing. Marketing could just be networking. I got probably the majority of the work I've gotten over the years just because of people I met or people I already knew who referred me to somebody else. I think you and I met at a developers networking group, and I helped you with a project one time, and that's just because we met there. So it's all about who you know, how many people you can meet. You can't meet too many people. I mean, that's where the majority, when you're starting out, that's where the majority of the business comes from. I'd say no matter what you're doing, because even if you're opening a retail shop, it's the people who know you that are going to support you first. So you can't meet too many people, and then beyond just that, marketing, whether it's websites and social media and all that stuff, a lot of people just drive home this thing: you got to have a niche, you got to have a niche, you got to have a niche. And that is true. I would not say don't do that, but it may not be as, your niche could be a lot of things. Your niche could be, if you do have a location, your niche could just be your location, and you've got to advertise to the people around you. Or your niche could be like if you're a developer, you build a certain kind of software. You build software to run, I don't know, veterinarians' offices. That's your niche. Or your niche could be a certain technology. Like, I'm the expert in this technology, so people hire me because I know that, and I help them, if they have a problem or building a new project with this particular technology. So your niche could be a lot of things, but and I would also say that you don't necessarily have to sell to a niche, but you need to advertise to a niche. It's a lot easier to target a niche specifically when you're advertising, but you can sell to anybody. People, if you say, like I say, mostly small business and on nonprofits is who we work with. But if some huge corporation comes to me, I'm not going to say no. It doesn't mean you can't work with them. And I've had a lot of people come to me wanting one thing, and we do a project, and they want something completely unrelated, and maybe I don't even know about it. They say, but I know you, I trust you, I know you do a good job, so I want you to learn how to do this to help me, just because I don't want to have to find somebody else. And that has been true so many times where, it's all about relationships. If people trust you, they'll pay you to do things that you didn't know how to do or weren't prepared to do, but they'll pay you plenty of money to do it just because they trust you.
Yeah, that's very true. I know. I remember one time listening to a consultant who was actually a lawyer. He had his practice with just himself, and he talked about that concept of, if you have a client and they ask you to do something that it's related to your industry, but maybe not exactly what you're used to doing. Many times there is a big opportunity if you say yes to it, because they already trust you. They already looking at you as, okay, this is somebody who can get the work done, and they don't care. If you're transparent and tell them, well, I'm not an expert at this, and they still say, well, doesn't matter. We trust you. We want you to do it. That can open the doors to so many different things. Another thing too, I wanted to ask is, with the pandemic, a lot of companies move people into home offices, and has that changed at all for you, your approach to the market, or how you're getting clients? Has that affected you at all?
Not really. I've been working remote for a long time before that. The great thing about it is, especially in our industry in IT, everybody's working from home, so customers don't expect to see you anymore. A lot of times customers
Mhm.
want you to be in their building just because they felt better if they saw you, and now they realize, well, that really didn't make sense. You can do it from anywhere. So it has made that part easier. But me personally, it hasn't been a lot of difference.
Another thing that I can think of is, so since you're working from home, by yourself, any challenges as far as, kind of maybe disciplining yourself, or, interruptions from, everybody else in the family, kids, wife, that you had
Oh
to
yeah.
face?
Well, yeah. So the interruptions I faced for a long time, and I finally found the best solution is my office is a separate building from the house. So they have to, if it's raining, they have to go out in the rain to get to me. So that helps, but I know that's not possible for everybody. Um, yeah, it is a struggle. I mean, luckily for me, I really enjoy what I'm doing. So I will just sit here and do it all day. Whereas I know, and I've had times where I've had projects I didn't really want to do, and it's easy to find yourself doing a little laundry or fixing something or standing in front of the refrigerator if you're working on something you don't want to work on. So that is tough. And I've heard a lot of people talk about a lot of ideas over the years, but definitely, if nothing else, having your own space, preferably a room where you can shut the door. I have an on-air sign hanging in my uh, doorway, and if the on-air sign is on, that means Dad is on a meeting, and don't even knock.
Oh wow, that's a great thing to have. I know. When I started, I was at a corner of my bedroom, and
Yeah.
eventually had to move into a spare bedroom that we had. So that helped a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to talk about
Well,
before we
something we were
go.
talking about just a minute ago, I thought I'd throw out
Hmm.
there. I mentioned all the networking and everything, and we talked about people asking you to do things that, you know, aren't in your wheelhouse. Well, one other thing to consider is networking with people who do related industries. So I have a
Mm.
couple of guys I know that are in IT on the hardware side, and we try not to do any of that because we really don't know hardware. But when one of our customers says, I need this, well, I've got a couple of people I can refer them to that are, that I trust that they should get a good, um, get good service from. And of course, that means they'll refer people to me if somebody comes to them asking about something software related. So um, networking with people that are not, right in your industry, that's always a good
Mm.
thing too.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Well, thank you, James, for taking the time to
Sure.
answer some questions and let everybody know what it's like to be a IT consultant.
All right. Glad to do it. Thanks for asking me.